don't know. I just had to do it. Something reminded me of good old Carlos Matos and the great old BitConnect scam that is so famous in the crypto world. How's it going, guys? I'm back with another episode of Trade Talk. If you're not familiar with what that little audio clip at the beginning was, it was just an old scam back when the ICO bubble was rampant. Maybe even before that. It was pretty much this pyramid scheme called BitConnect. I'm not going to go too much into it, but there's this guy representing it named Carlos Matos, and he has this whole big speech on YouTube, so go look it up if you haven't seen it before, but I'm sure most of you have. Guy's famous for just being a goof, and I don't know what else to say, but go look it up. It's super hilarious, a bunch of remixes and whatnot. But aside from that, how's it going? I hope everyone had a great weekend in Canada here. If there's any American listeners, it's had Thanksgiving this past weekend. So for all my Canadian friends out there, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving weekend. I know myself, I ate more turkey than I could handle, and it's feeling pretty good. So why don't we just dive right into it? So right now I'm just looking at the Bitcoin daily chart. And so looking at the daily here, and I believe, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video. I should really recap those before I start this, but whatever. I know I mentioned it in the Vic blockchain trading channel. Was this big pump up to 8,800-ish. And this big dump down. Now, I want to show you what kind of made me think or suspect that it might be a quick dump. Now, as you guys know by now, a huge fan of the good old Ichimoku cloud. And so, if you can see this right here, this break of this trend line that I've drawn, and technically, right here, we were in the cloud. So general cloud trading rules say if you have a candle closed within the cloud and you have this bullish TK cross, which is your blue line over your red line, that your target should be the opposite edge of the cloud. However, after such a move like that, I was really skeptical of it. And in general, what you kind of want when you're cloud trading is you want price to kind of creep into the cloud, right? You want it to creep into the cloud. You want to see that bullish TK cross, and then you can start targeting the other edge of the cloud. And if you were to do that, if that was to happen anyways, your risk to reward ratio would be way better. Let me just draw it out here. If we take a long position, let's say instead of this massive breakout towards the upside, it creeped in around here, around 8,200-ish. And you saw your bullish TK cross, and all your everything you're looking for was kind of pointing to going long. So being super conservative, that would have been our risk to reward ratio. If it creeped in right around this price, around 82.30, we would have had a risk reward ratio of 4.79. Now that's pretty good. With and your stop would be below the cloud, just under it here, which also makes sense because you have this significant support right here. It's right below our support zone, so a stop below the cloud would have made sense looking at our support zone and the bottom of our cloud. However, after the price kind of broke into the cloud like this, I mean, after such a move like that, I kind of wanted to wait, and I outlined this in the trading channel. Let's get rid of that there. I outlined this in the trading channel saying that it's kind of a fishy move for it to go up to here, and also it's coming real close to our resistance zone that was previously mapped out. And so I said that to take a long trade, I'd be looking for price to come back to the $8,300 zone, which it did, or to take a short, I was looking at this test of this looking for a test of this resistance zone here before taking a short. Now, I believe I took a short right around 86.90 or so. I had a tight stop just in case this did decide to move further, which it did. However, so what happened was I had a tight stop. I was watching this movement closely. I had some alerts set and whatnot. Price, I got stopped out like right in the middle here somewhere. I forget what my exact stop was, but I was able to actually catch the top of this movement, considering it was a major area of resistance. And I actually caught this short right up here all the way down to our zone. I think I closed it around 8,300. It went a little lower, but whatever. I was happy with that trade. Now, since we are kind of in this zone, I decided to take a long based on a couple things. First off, we can see this trend line that I drew. And I find this to be a very good trend line considering we had multiple tests of it on both sides. So as you can see here, we have a test here around 87.50, let's say. We had another test here around 85, and we had another test of this trend line around 83. We broke the trend line. We came down. We tested it 1, 2, 3 more times currently. So we have the test here, 82.30. The test here, 81.50-ish. Yeah. And another one here around 8,100. Now, I know as a cloud trader, this edge-to-edge is technically no longer valid if we're looking just at the cloud. However, I'm not too convinced once again going purely on the cloud. Just because if we look at the bottom cloud here and we like kind of like imaginary extended it, you know, like the cloud's just an indicator, right? It can just kind of give you a broader picture. If you extend it, really it's still in the cloud, you know what I mean? It's not in the cloud, but it's still in this area of interest. And considering we had this retest of this trend line that's been respected so beautifully, I'm still long. And in fact, I added to my long upon this third retest of this trend line. I think I took a long around here based on the fact that we were finding support right around the Kijin here. And it looked like, you know, promising support, and we broke through. And now we tested this trend line perfectly, and I averaged out dollar cost averaged out my position here. And yeah, I mean, now I'm just long from here. And I think I mentioned in the trading channel as well that my stop is now 80.50. Now, I mean, we could keep going and we can extend this trend line. We keep moving our stop loss lower and lower and lower and lower. However, I feel that if we do break lower, especially if we break this 8,000 level, then we could just be seeing some more downside movement, possibly even down to our $6,000 level, or maybe our next Fibonacci level, which is around 7,400, and our big resist or support level here, which is right around 6,000, right? The big finale and an optimal buying zone for Bitcoin. So, like I said, currently I am long. Just based on these kinds of factors. We do see the cloud is twisting green here, which indicates some bullishness could be approaching us. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Like I said, I have a tight stop at 80.50. If we get stopped out, I'll see what happens then. So that's great. So yeah, long on Bitcoin right now. We'll see how she plays out. Also, if you look here, you can see we're starting to form some higher lows and some higher highs in a very messy fashion. However, you know, it's you never know. It's Bitcoin, right? But you got 1, 2, could be our third lower high here. This one could have been it. This is also another lower high. Depends how you look at it. And higher highs, right? Up, up, and who knows? We could see another leg up, right? So I'm actually taking out some of my position right around this wick of this candle right around the 8800 zone, because obviously there's a lot of selling pressure around there. So I think I'm closing out 80% of my position right around there, leaving 20% of my position to run to the edge of the cloud if it decides to do so. If not, then I'll move my stop loss up into profit. Maybe, I don't know, maybe right around here, around the 85.60, 85.75 level, and we'll see what happens from there. So that's my kind of quick analysis on Bitcoin. We'll see how it goes down in the next little bit. I will be posting the updates in the trading channel as always. Let's take a look over at Ether. Nope. All right, looking at Ether. Reacting pretty nicely to our cloud here. As you can see, we kind of found this support zone, right? We had a little bit of wicking down past it. However, this support zone is still valid. And you can see these Fibonacci retracements. I actually took the numbers off, but because it was a little messy when I was doing my analysis just before. But look how beautifully it plays out. You know what I mean? Like, boom, you have these ranges, together with our support and resistance zone. You can see here, we find support at this Fibonacci level. We break up. You can target the next one, we close above here. You can target the next one. Maybe you get stopped out. You close under here. And maybe this level isn't so good to actually look at because we have this area of resistance right here, right? So maybe you don't want to get involved there. But you can see anywhere where we're not involved in that area. You can see down here, we find support down at this level. We come back up the next day, and you can just target these kinds of levels, right? And you can see here we have a indecision candle. We're not sure which way it's going to go. Breakthrough support. Again, we touch perfectly up here to this Fibonacci level. Also, I think I mentioned either in the episode or the trading channel, I can't even keep track anymore, that in order to take a long position for Ether, based on the daily time frames anyways, you want to see a creep into the cloud. However, I was warning that if we see a rejection of the cloud, we would be coming back down. And sure enough, as you can see here, how beautifully it touched the edge of the cloud, kind of in line and working with our Fibonacci retracement. It comes down. We're kind of back in our support zone here. It comes back up, pretty much touches the edge of the cloud along with our Fibonacci retracement, comes back down. And now we're just kind of sitting at this Fibonacci retracement level around 179-ish. So that's where we're sitting with ETH right now. So what are we looking for? So right now we'd be looking for resistance along the cloud, right? That's kind of what we're looking for. If we break it down, if we bring it down to the 4 hour, it actually paints a pretty messy picture. The cloud is green, meaning that we're expecting some bullish momentum next. So really right now, if you really wanted to, you could open along here. Here, I'll show you just for example, for short-term trade, what we could do. Open along right at this current price. You can see the wicks are kind of down below here. So if we move our stop just below that to account for the wicking down, we can see that we have a 2.38 risk reward ratio. Pretty awesome. You can make a quick trade right here based on the fact that we're playing this range for the last, couple of days. You can take one based on that, right? As far as continuation goes though, so bullish or bearish continuation, we're still kind of unclear. We're in this weird zone, where it's support and resistance. We're not really sure what it's acting like. It looks like it's acting as support along this Fibonacci level. However, I'm not so convinced yet. I'd rather see some better movement on the daily. So like I said, you can target this Fibonacci level and see what happens next. If we go back down to the 4 hour and we do hit this Fibonacci level. Technically, it's also a Kumo breakout because we'll be breaking out of the 4-hour cloud. Let me just stretch that out a bit for you. If we hit this level, then we've broken out of the cloud. However, it's not a convincing break. I would like to see more of a upward movement up until this level around the 196 level. The 196 level here is right here, and you'd want to see that bust into the cloud before taking another long trade all the way to the other edge of the cloud, which the potential for profit is huge if that happens. However, if we do reject the cloud along with our Fibonacci retracement, we can take a short down with our targets being these Fibonacci levels. And it's about as simple as that, guys. Like, you just kind of gotta weigh your risk and your reward, and just, you don't have to win every trade. You just have to make the most profit and lose the least when you're trading. So that's kind of my analysis. I guess you can see here we kind of have a kind of trend line happening here. I mean, it's not bad because we're moving up, right? Lower or higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and higher highs up until about recently. However, we can still play this trend, and we can possibly expect movement up into this zone. So that's about it for ETH. Let's go over to XRP. Over at XRP, USD, and I made this call too. I believe it was in the trading channel. However, I called for a long right here. So I saw that this candle was actually closing within the cloud. So I'm like, hey, we can take a long based on this and set our stop below it. So, and this is exactly what I was talking about before, is you don't have to win every trade. You just have to, make it work to your best advantage, where you can maximize your profits and minimize your losses. So look at this. So based on that trade call that I made there, let me just find the bottom edge of the cloud here. I'll turn off the magnet here. Let's say right there, for example. Okay. So if we ignore this, let me just move those candles out of the way. So, okay, if you can see here, based on this candle, I saw this candle right over here close within the cloud. I was like, hey, let's take a long based on this. Obviously, I always kind of say based on your risk tolerance, take a long or not, because technically we should be waiting for this blue line to cross over the red line, bullish TK cross, before taking a long trade in the cloud. However, they're lagging indicators, and sometimes you can miss out on some of these bigger movements if you don't wait for those. However, if you want to be more conservative and you want more confirmation, I'd say wait for the TK cross. However, look at this. So I said go long on October 9th for XRP. And unfortunately, the very next day we broke down. And we broke below the cloud, and our stop would have been hit and whatever. However, we say whatever, it happens. And look at this. We got another opportunity based on this candle on October 13th. We closed inside the cloud, and bam, we had a pretty high explosion to the upside. A rejection around the 30-cent level, which seems to be quite significant in the market, this 30-cent level. And we went right to this 30-cent level. You could have taken profits a little bit up here, but really realistically your targets would have probably been the other edge of the cloud. However, you could have moved up your stop loss after seeing this move, right? You could have moved it up to the next Fibonacci retracement level, and you would have been closed out here. And guess what? Now we can re-enter with all the profits we've made off that trade and target the other edge of the cloud, and it looks like it's playing out quite nicely. You can also see this trend line here, kind of, sort of, we can make it a little more exact here. something like that, you know. But you can see it's been respecting this trend line, and it's kind of like on an upward slope. And I do expect that we will sooner or later hit this other edge of the cloud. But you never know. We could always get stopped out. You can move your stop loss to below this trend line, for example, instead of the underneath the cloud. You can move your stop losses in line with, you know, price moving. So, you know, the next day, if price is still above the trend line, you can move it up to 27 cents. Next day, you can move it up to 28 cents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the way, as long as this, the price is respecting the trend line. So right now, long on XRP, targeting the other edge of the cloud with our stop losses below the trend line. Let's just say that for now. So that's the XRP USD pair. Now, I'm so happy with this call, and actually I want to talk a little bit about XRP and Bitcoin, or the XRP Bitcoin pair, just because it's interesting to see that XRP in relation to Bitcoin is actually gaining some traction. And over the last couple of days, maybe over the last week, XRP has been, when Bitcoin has been coming down, XRP has been going up in relation to Bitcoin. So really, you would have been better off holding XRP and then selling it into Bitcoin. However, I made this call, I guess it would have been like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, based on this entry into the cloud. We can see here on this, September 26th, maybe I caught it here or something like that. Shit, I can't remember now. But somewhere in the early stages here, I said that an edge-to-edge trade is active, and I just love how beautifully it's been playing out. Just so beautifully. We casually entered the cloud, and we've been casually just going up and up and up, and our target is right here, the opposite edge of the cloud. We can take our profits. We can take 80%. We can take 90%. We can take 70%. We can take whatever. And we can move our stop losses up as soon as we hit this, and let's say price breaks out of the cloud. So let's say right at the edge of the cloud is your target, right around 39.50 or so. Let's just say you take 80% of your profits there. Price keeps moving higher. You can move your stop loss right to that point for the remaining 20% of your profits, maybe a bit lower, just in case price decides to come back down and test that cloud. However, I mean, just look how beautifully this is played out. Like, I love it. Like, it's just like moving up, and I think it's gonna hit our target pretty soon here in the next week or so. You know, like it's great. It's not hard to do, especially with the cloud. It just gives you these sorts of signals, you know, and it's a good feeling. Now you might notice this large yellow trend line. I actually wanted to talk about that a little bit. Now, so I've actually drawn this trend line. This is just based off some ideas I've been reading on TradingView and whatnot. And just look at this trend line. This is from all the way from the low, from when XRP was first listed on Bitstamp. That's the chart we're looking at now. I took its lowest point. I connected it with this drop in 2017. And I just kind of extended that line as far as I could take it. And I just want to say that look how this trend line has been respected. Given, I mean, right now, like right here, I think there's a little bit of a freak out just because it actually broke this trend line. And you can see the retests of this trend line. Boom, boom. You know, attempted retest, I guess you could say there. But look how quickly price came back up above this trend line. Like, XRP wants to respect this trend line. And, you know, you could project this trend line as far into the future as you can. And it's just a steady upward movement. Uh, there's also been some news with Ripple. They say, I forget which exchange it is, but some stock exchange is going to be using the Ripple ledger as it's going to be using it for its trading stocks, so people can trade stocks 24/7, kind of like the crypto market. But it's going to go ahead and it's going to use the Ripple system to do it, which is pretty good news. I mean, I think Ripple is really making some major strides. I know that, the general consensus is a centralized shitcoin, but I'm kind of not in that category at all. And just based on what I've researched, based on what I have read, it looks really promising. And another great thing to say, and some more news, and I think it was actually posted in the Slack channel as well, is that so many of these major players in the finance industry are dropping out of the Libra project, which is great because, fuck Libra, seriously, like terrible. I mean, it's not a terrible idea. I get where he's going with it, that Zuckerberg guy, but just no, just ugh. Zuckerberg needs to get his grubby little hands out of cryptocurrency. He's made enough wealth for himself and caused enough issues concerning privacy and data and whatnot that he can just stay away, as far as I'm concerned. So anyways, I mean, entered down here, targeting the other edge of the cloud. Pretty beautiful setup, pretty good result. If you haven't gotten in that trade, what I would suggest, if we're looking down on the 4 hour, I would suggest trying to place some buys right along the red line here, so the Kijin. That would be your best area for buys. As you can see, the very end of the Kijin line lines up pretty nicely with our support of previous prices. So if I were just to draw that, like, is that even straight? There we go. If I was to draw that, line it up with the edge there, you can see it's acting as support over here. It came down, it tested as resistance, broke through. Chances are it's going to come back and test this area as support and continue moving higher towards our other edge of the cloud, which we can see on our daily. So if you can see the trend line I drew, that's kind of where you want to be buying if you're not already in this trade. And last kind of topic here, ZRX or ZRX, sorry if I'm trying to be Canadian about it. ZRX. It's looking sexy, honestly. Like what a breakout and what movement it's had since, I guess, its bottom here on the 29th of August or something like that. It's just been moving up and it's just going. And so right now it's looking real good. We've had a Kumo breakout, so price has broken out of the cloud, and now we can see the cloud is twisting green. So what is our next course of action? Where do we want to enter? I'd say all good entries are probably along our Fibonacci levels right at this moment. So if you can place some entries right around the 29-cent level, right around the 27-cent level, and maybe even right around the 26-cent level, just to catch some further wicking down, that'd probably be ideal. So right now I'm long on ZRX. I don't know what else to say. All the signals are lining up. If we wanted further confirmation, we'd wait for price to consolidate up here, and we would wait for these lines to come, our Kijin and our Tenkin. We'd wait for them to break out of the cloud as well and kind of move closer to price and stay bullish, meaning the blue over the red, to indicate further bullish momentum. But as far as I see now, you could even be stacking the coin right now. You could be setting orders along these Fibonacci lines, but it is looking bullish right now. And also, like, it's it's had some real great highs in the past. So based on that, I think it's a good long-term hold as of now, just to buy the physical crypto instead of margin trading it. For example, you could just buy the physical crypto and just dollar cost average. If it does come down, well, I mean, I don't think it'll stay down for long. It's already had oh god, I don't know, 100% increase, and it's not a shit coin by any means. It's got some market cap, and it's got some interesting prospects. If you want to look into the ZRX project, go ahead. They have a pretty cool protocol, and like it just looks like it might even be leading the alt rally. Like, I don't know if this is considered an alt rally, considering right now you can see we're actually hitting resistance right here. That's this Fibonacci level kind of lines up pretty nicely with our level back in the past before we had the drop. But it's looking pretty good, guys. Like, I don't know what to say other than buy some ZRX. I know I have, and I will be. And I'm looking for these kind of drops to get a better price. And I'm excited to see this move up. Yeah. And that's kind of my market breakdown for the week. Obviously, if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments or hit me up in the Slack channel. Also, I'd like to go ahead and I'd like to thank Membran Labs for providing the studio to which I record my podcasts, and also for sponsoring the podcast. And they're the ones that kind of allow me to do this, in a professional setting with professional equipment. So I'm very grateful, and also it helps me with my trading. As I always state, this kind of helps me stick to my word, kind of helps me analyze things emotionless, and it kind of makes me, how do I say it? Dedicate to what I say and what I predict and what I project. So as always, thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if there's any other coins you want me to cover. I mean, I'm kind of covering the big ones here, and I don't cover many just because, there's thousands out there. But if you have any, if you want me to cover any sort of other coin other than the ones I've covered so far, please let me know, and I will. I'll try my best to do an analysis on them. But other than that, happy trading, and I'll see you guys next week. And I will be posting updates in the Slack channel. So please join vicblockchain.slack.com. Have a good one, guys. It's a pleasure.